So in the last 24 hours, we have gotten a massive wave of previews and gameplay showcases coming out from different content creators. And I'll just start off by saying that this video will not contain any spoilers, but instead I want to cover the recent negative feedback from the community and some concerns shared regarding the uncapped frame rate in the preview footage on PS5, the statement from Itsuno that explains we'll only get 10 vocations, armor and clothing features that are not returning, and the recurring question on everybody's lips right now: will there be a demo? Let's go over the frame rate problems first, as I think this is the most important for people right now. And although we have covered this in a couple of videos already, there are YouTubers now that claim that the gameplay they experienced was really bad, and that frames would fall as low as 20 during the most intensive scenes. We also have an official reply by Itsuno during an interview here that states, for Dragon's Dogma 2, we'll feature uncapped frame rate performance around 30 FPS or above on consoles. For PC, it will depend on the specs of the machine, but for consoles, we are aiming for an uncapped frame rate around and above 30 FPS. Now, I would like to think that this is a very humble Itsuno we're getting here, but we can't really deny it anymore when even the director of Dragon's Dogma 2 is confirming they are aiming for around 30 FPS on consoles. This is also backed up by the numerous preview testers on YouTube that claim that frame rates drop below 20 FPS in some intense scenes. What's strange to me though is the inconsistent feedback from the different players. Some say they experience around 60 FPS, while others state it was less than 30 most of the time. Another thing we need to remember is that these previews are captured on an older build of the game that might not represent the final version of the game. While I don't know exactly how well this works in reality, Capcom have stated that they are going to improve the performance for consoles, and that the dips we see below 30 will be fixed before launch. At this point, with the recent trailers and gameplay showcases we have seen so far, it's not easy to say if we actually will have trouble with frame rate drops on consoles, or if the previews are just an old demo build that won't represent the final version of the game accurately. Regardless, I know a lot of people will get the game whether it's 30 FPS or 40 FPS, but I also understand the demand for 60 FPS for games coming out in 2024. Another piece of information that made a lot of people upset is this answer Itsuno gives in an Eurogamer article about Vocations. Unlike many fans seem to have assumed, the Vocations shown so far are indeed the full amount that will be available in the base game. There's 10 Vocations in the game, the 10 out there we've made public so far. Honestly, to me this sounds like they are going to save the other Vocations for an upcoming DLC, which is perfectly fine for me. The only two Vocations I still think are missing from the lineup we see here is of course a Monk and Katana Vocation that have been teased and hinted at for a long time now. I still have hope we'll see this in the game at some point, but let me know in the comments what you guys think as well here. One really cool piece of information we get though is that our fighter, like I suggested in a previous video, actually are absorbing some of the skills and playstyles we saw in the Mystic Knight Vocation. The fighter can now wield maces with a completely new moveset, and perfect blocks with the right augment will create different riposts with every element, similar to what the Mystic Knight could do with the magic shield. Alright, let's talk about armor and clothing, and how Itsuno explains why they changed these mechanics in the sequel. It states, so for Dragon's Dogma 2, we changed the armor system and simplified it with the goal that people choose different things to have more visual variety. We wanted to balance it in a way so that people wouldn't end up always choosing the same things. He further explains, in that regard we added more variety and simplified the system. Rather than giving an inner and outer, we divided equipment for the upper half of the body and the lower half of the body. We added helms and capes. There are some presets, but overall, well, something that happened in the previous game at high levels was that people would go for the same kind of equipment in the end. This time we've made a conscious goal of trying to create something that even at higher levels, people would be encouraged to choose different things. So there will be some visual variety into what people were choosing. How I understand this is that instead of having many different layers of armor like clothing for upper and lower body separate, they have instead added a lot more variations for only upper and lower armor pieces. Honestly, I think that's great, and all the armor sets showcased so far look really good. Even the basic armor sets have good fashion in my opinion, and I love that we have a wide array of good looking capes and hoods this time around. I'm not really worried about fashion Dogma at all, and I can't wait to try out different armor sets and find cool combos flows in the sequel, which is an important part of the RPG experience, of course. Lastly, I want to briefly touch upon the demo rumors and the updates we have gotten on SteamDB the last week. Now, a lot of people have theorized we'll get a demo the 7th or 8th of March, since that would be 2 weeks before the game drops. And of course, that would make sense, since Capcom have dropped demos for almost all their big titles lately. Dragon's Dogma 2 would be no exception, of course, and I think the message from Capcom revealing a showcase on the 7th should give you guys the answer you seek as well. I will livestream the event here on the channel tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to see you guys there as well.